there, guys, it's me, Malorian. It's time for another Malorian Weekly, and what this episode is going to be all about is how to play with yourself, which is maybe fitting because I'm down in the basement by myself, and you don't know if I'm wearing pants, but the main thing I'm going to be really talking about here is solo games, how to play games of Warmachine against yourself. Now, you might be feeling this is weird for a couple of reasons. One, because this is a social game and normally you're playing with other people, and so just play it with yourself feels weird, and we'll get into that. But the other one you're probably thinking of is why? We have Vassal, Malorian. Do you not know that Vassal exists? And I think, I don't want to get into this too deep, but just to put this very simply, I'm not the biggest fan of Vassal. I know it's the best thing we have. It doesn't make it good. So if you're a person out there that's like a great computer programmer making cool programs, blah, 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 now's the time for you to work on Vassal Plus or something like that. You know, basically look at a Magic Arena for what it does for Magic the Gathering and make that for Warmachine. But let's just cut that off there. I realize there are people that are playing Vassal and they love it. And if you're one of those people, that's great. You know, it's a different experience, but if it's working for you, let it keep working for you. But there's a number of people it's not working for. And I also believe that playing these games of Warmachine against yourself really give you something very critical to your growth as a player that can help a lot. So let's get into that part. So playing against yourself, let's just get to the basics. The first thing you're going to need is obviously models. You're going to have your models at home. If you're one of these people that only had one list, well, then you might be screwed, but odds are you got lots of models if you've been playing for more than a year and you have enough to be making different lists, and that's awesome. The other thing you should be keeping in mind too is that you can proxy whatever you want. Who's going to stop you, right? If you want to go and use this on, there you go. There's my Storm Strider, there's my Conquest, there's my whatever I want to be, done. Really, all I need is this base. So there you go, done. The other thing too is that you could always be using whatever you want. Let's say that you don't even have any extra bases. You know, you want to use something that proxies another large base. You just don't have very many models. Well, use a Salt Shaker or whatever that's roughly the same size. Again, who cares? You're playing with yourself at home. It's your own way to do this. Now, you're also going to need your own regular stuff. You need to have your mat. You need to have terrain. You need to have a clock. But with all that then too, I mean, do you really? You know, if you just go and have a table and you're like, okay, well, I know from this edge to the Kleenex box, that's 4 feet. And from here to there, and I'll just put a piece of tape there, that's 4 feet. Done. That's what you got. You got a 4-foot table. For terrain, if you don't have 2D stuff or 3D stuff, whatever, the toaster, boom, that's a forest, why not? Grab a fork, boom, there's a wall. I used to do Camp Hammer with my brother, where we'd actually just bring some models and do a silly game while camping and grab sticks and stuff like that and rocks and make terrain. It was hilarious. But you can do all these things from home too. So don't feel well, I don't own these things. This is Xnade for me. This is very easy for you. And as for that last one with the clock, well, if you want to practice on clock, go ahead. But I'd actually suggest that for these home ones, practice without a clock because of what we're going to be getting to the real benefits. Now, getting into that, what are the benefits? Why would you want to actually do this at home? It feels weird. If somebody looks in the window, they're going to be like, oh, he's so weird, and it's going to be branded on you forever. Well, first of all, that's a lie. It's not going to happen. That's never going to happen to you. You know, stop panicking. But the big thing is that, look, you have this competitive itch, you want to play, so itch it. You know, you have all of it right here waiting for you, so just go ahead and do it. Well, okay, let's assume that we are going to do it just for the sake of it. What are we actually going to get from this? Well, one of the things you can do is you can actually start getting practice against the matchups that you want to. You know, sometimes you go to the the game store, the tournament, whatever it is, and you're like, oh boy, this list is really going to smash whatever, and then you just never face them, and you never get to actually practice that out. Well, you can do that now. Again, remembering that you can proxy things as other stuff, you can be practicing that at home. Now, one of the things that I think a lot of people will think of or be against is like, well, you can't do that, Malorian. You can't play against yourself because how does the psychology work, right? When I'm in a game at a store or a tournament, I can be baiting in my opponent. I can be trying to dark horse. I can be trying to catch them with different things. But right now, if I'm playing against myself, how am I ever going to catch myself off guard? How am I ever going to bait myself? I know all the information. Well, when I was a chess player and I was trying to get better at chess, I would be playing games against myself. I would make a move, spin it around, look at it, make another move, spin it back around. And what that really forces you to do is it forces you to not just see the game through your own eyes, but to see the game through your opponent's eyes. It's always very simple to be like, well, I came here to do X, so let's here go and do it. But the better players are not going to be just thinking of that. They're thinking about, what are my opponents trying to do? If I do this, what are their options? What are they most likely to do? If I do something else, is that a better outcome? Do I restrict their options? Do I restrict their ability to do their best play? And then that's really what you really want to develop in your own head. I think one of the things that you have to realize is that when you're playing at top tables, dark horsing isn't really a thing anymore. You know, if we're talking like top tables at cons, people going to WTC, that type of thing, these are people coming in with full knowledge. You know, they're the type of people saying, hey, I've played this game 100 times. I know that this matchup depends on ABC. Let's see who really leverages that better. And so you should be now used to that. You know, if you're playing against yourself and then obviously you have full knowledge from both sides, knowing if I do this, they can do that. If I do this, they're not going to fall for it. I have to have a solid plan that is going to be leveraging my advantages against their weaknesses. And I think that once you practice that, that's something that once we get out of quarantine here, you'll be able to really use in your games. And then all of a sudden, you're not trying to trap your opponent and being like, oh, you didn't fall for the bait, guess I lose this one. You're going into it really thinking from that double-sided type of perspective where this is what I'm seeing and what I'm trying to do, and this is what you're seeing and what you're trying to do. And it's going to make you a much, much stronger player. Now, past that, one of the things you can also do is quickly reset. So let's say, for example, you're playing a game against yourself, you start doing deployments, you get to the end of turn one, you're like, oh, you know what? From this side, I really screwed that up. I really should have cast this. I really should have moved this unit here. Whatever it is, if this was a regular game, tournament game, whatever, you can't do that. But when it's completely under your control, you can. I know that's one of the advantages that people have said from Vassal, that's very easy to go back, but there's still a little bit more to that. There's a little bit of like, hey, I did this wrong. Do you mind if we go back? You know, it's super obvious. Hey, me, I forgot to do this. Are you okay with it? Yeah, of course I am. And you just do that. So you can really focus on, again, not, focusing on trying to make the perfect play, but more so developing and discovering what the perfect play is, right? It's one thing to go to a tournament and having to minimize your mistakes, but when you're playing this game here, you're more not so much trying to limit the number of mistakes you're making, you're trying to maximize the types of best plays. What is my optimum play that I can do in this situation? And again, bring this back to the chess comparison, it's such an interesting thing to do. Maybe start with that, grab a chess set, do a move, turn it around and be like, okay, now that I'm looking at from this side, what is the optimum play that I can do? Okay, I've done that, turn it around. Completely clear my head. I'm not on that team now, on this team. What is the optimum thing I can do? And that might be an easy way to get you into that mindset so you can actually play that in your game. The other greedy thing that allows you to do if you're starting to play these games against yourself is that it allows you to actually have this content. So not only that we talk about you need something to scratch the itch, but once you do have this, this is something you can really be discussing with others. You could say, hey, I tried this out and this happened. What do you think? Is my list wrong? Should I be playing it differently? It actually gives you something more to talk about. Because I mean, like right now, we get to talk to some people and there's a lot of theory crafting going on right now. But when you have some actual table experience, it's so much better. And then it can say like, hey, why don't you try doing this? And you can even be having pictures. Hey, in this situation, click, click, what would you do? And it does so much more than just like, hey, when it's Butcher 3 versus Makeda 3, what's the best play? Well, there's so many different factors, right? So when you have specific examples, well, with this terrain here, this model here, this scenario scores going this way, you know, all of a sudden, those types of discussions can be a lot more pointed and a lot more specific, and you'll learn a lot more from it. So there you go. There's solo games. Again, if you're a person that loves Vassal and you're playing Vassal, that's fantastic. That's great for you. But solo games is something that I think we can all do from our own homes and get a lot from it. So I'm actually going to be having those. I wanted to do the battle report every single month, and obviously that's probably not going to happen here in April. So I'm going to try to get a few of these in here, at least for the examples going on here, and then we'll see whether you think it's bullshit or not. So there you go. Thanks for watching. If you have any other thoughts, please post it down below. And otherwise, we'll catch you later. Bye.